And there you go. You should have all been told this meeting is being recorded, and we are going to crack on. Just to start, so my name's Dan Burke. I'm the CEO of Young Harrow Foundation. For those that haven't met me, Christina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Cristina Garcia, and I'm the HAF grant lead. So I will be here supporting you with any questions you have about the guidelines, applications, and all with your programs as well.
Great. Well, we're going to jump straight into the grants, and then we're going to also talk about Winter Wonderland if that's something that you would like to get access to. So here we go. Again, please use the Q&A as we're going through this to ask any questions. We're going to do guidance and then have space for questions. We're then going to look at the application for the grants. Then we're going to discuss about Winter Wonderland. So just keep asking those questions all the way through, and we'll keep trying to look at them. So for those that have not engaged in any of the HAF funding, which I know some of the people signed up for this haven't, this is a Department for Education pot of funding that Young Harrow Foundation is administrating on behalf of Harrow Council. We have done an Easter program. We have just finished the summer program. So for those that are on the call that was part of that, thank you so much. We supported over 3,600 young people, and over 80% of young people that are on forced free school meals got access to a service. So amazing job to everyone that was involved. It wasn't easy. We know it wasn't easy. So thank you so much. Well, we are now doing the last one of the year. DfE haven't decided whether this will be happening next year, so we don't know, but this is definitely the last one of this year. And we want to make sure every penny that the council and we are holding for this is gone so that we don't give anything back. So the two things you can apply for. The first one is obviously a grant. This is the main one for all our local members and partner organizations. What we have divided this into is pretty much two, but there are three grant opportunities. So the first one is a short holiday project. For those that have done any of the summer programs or Easter programs, this could look very similar to that, which is including some positive physical activities, including kind of a meal, including a load of other things. You would have to do a minimum of 12 hours. We probably expect to see that at least over 2 or 3 days. But you can apply between £1,000 and £5,000. So you would let us know how. Obviously, we'll go through the form in a bit, but we are not restricting it per person for a value because we know Christmas is a really strange time. We definitely know that people are mostly going to be doing this before the actual Christmas day, so before the 24th of December. I think most programs are going to be in that very small window of 6 days. But it is completely up to you as someone applying to when you do this. So that's the first one. The second one, if you are a provider that is specialist in supporting SEND needs, then you can apply for this. Rather than putting a value on this, you would just email kind of Christina and we will chat through what your program is and what you're trying to do. We know that over the summer, one of the only areas that there was slight criticism from was we need more providers to provide more for young people struggling with SEND. So we are continuously trying to find more services that is possible. But for that pot of funding, you would need to be a specialist in that. In all programs, we hope that everyone is able to find ways to extend it to all young people, including young people struggling with SEND. And then the last one is one-off activities. Now, what we're expecting to possibly see is some groups that might do a Christmas ball or a social to the theatre or something like that. We would love to encourage and fund some of those days. So if you just want to do that one-off event with a group of young people, then you can just apply for that through this funding, or obviously you can include that within a short holiday program as one of the days that you might be doing other things as well. So they're the three kind of offers that we're encouraging people to apply for. Just to break it down a little bit, that's from the DfE. You can read these. Obviously, everything's on your email. It should have been emailed to you, but it's also on our website under the funding slot. So I won't go into the DfE kind of areas that they really want to see. A really important factor for this grants round is that we aren't providing the food for the Christmas. So you would need to put that within your budget when applying. The reason we're not doing that is because we just don't know when people over the Christmas break are going to deliver. And it's we also are expecting people to do things like balls and stuff like that, where your food is going to be quite a specific thing. So what we'd rather do is people just apply and organize that themselves. We are encouraging you to maybe use a provider to pay for that food, because then you can just say all the quality assurances and stuff like that is done through a professional food provider. If you are going to do it yourself, there are some restrictions that we just need to check that you have those in place. But again, Christina is there by email if that is something you want to chat through. Who is this funding for? Like all the HAF funding, this is for 5 to 16, with really our kind of target beneficiaries need to be young people on free school meals. That doesn't exclude other people, but we need to do our best to try and support as many young people that are on eligible for free school meals as possible. This is a DFE priority, is that we make sure that there's mapping across the borough, where in the summer we obviously did a lot of mapping, but actually all the programs we provided, nearly all of them really did hit our high poverty areas. So we're not going to put a map into this because a lot of your services are already delivering in those areas. But as always, we want it to encourage and to support our higher poverty kind of areas. And like always, where possible, we need to be trying to support as many young people from different kind of, from, like I said, young people with SEND, young people maybe with other disadvantages, from obesity, depression, and the list goes on. There's 4 standards that we want to see within your provision. There used to be 5 for the summer, which included the nutritional packs. We have taken that out for this one because of the one-off events and the short term of this. So this is healthy food, enriching activities, physical activity, and as an organization, you have to have the policies and procedures in place. Now, we will be providing nutritional packs that can be given out, and we will encourage you to be doing that. But what we are not going to do is enforce that is part of your program. That is just something that we will encourage you to somehow give to the children that access your services. The outcomes we would like to see, but for this one, you don't have to tell us how you're going to do it. You just have to tick that you are going to do it, which you'll see in the application is eating more healthily, being more active, taking part of enriching activities, and being safe and not isolated. As per usual, you know, we cannot predict, it's only 2 months away, but we cannot predict what COVID or what restrictions are going to be in place. Everything we are doing, we're encouraging to have some kind of way of either bubbling or having a backup plan, because we just don't know what is going to be possible. So please make sure you've thought that through, and in the application, again, you'll see we are asking for that. So please be aware that is something that you've got your head around. Obviously, we talk about the food there, so please read that, because this time, rather than, I think nearly 95% of providers used our provider, and we organised the food last time. This time we are not doing that for the Christmas. So please make sure you are totally aware of the food requirements. And then there's the kind of obligation criteria and other things in the guidance. I'm going to stop sharing that for a second. If anyone does have any questions, actually, no, let me go through the application form, and then we can do questions together, just the grants program. So the application form is like our summer application for those that applied, but hopefully even slightly simpler. As per usual, we ask a little bit about yourselves. This program can either be done by our members, our associate members, or the local council. So pretty much, if you are supporting children and young people in the borough in Harrow and have experience in that, you should be able to access this funding if you are wanting to. The basics of reading the guidance, the only reason for that is because of things like the food and things like that. We really want to make sure people have got their head around that before applying, because obviously there is more responsibility on you as providers on this program. Okay, having a look at this again, as you will see, we just do tick boxes. The DBS is the same for those that weren't involved in the summer, their DFE are really strict on that everyone that is providing any adult support to children and young people you're working with under the HAF has to have a DBS check and has to have done safeguarding at least level 2. So again, please be, level 1. Please be aware of that. We will do everything we can to make that possible. If for some reason some of your staff haven't done that or your volunteers haven't done that, but please be aware that is a criteria that we will need to check that is in place. You need to tell us which program you're thinking of applying under, and obviously you can only apply under one of these. You can't apply for a one-off activity and a short holiday. That would be one of those options. We'd be expecting to see the one-off activity within the short, unless there's a really clear reason of why. If you're doing like a 3-day, I don't know, residential with young people, but after Christmas you're looking at doing a one-off activity, then we may consider it. But please be aware what we're expecting to see is one of these areas that you're choosing. Describe what you're wanting the funding to do. Again, we've tried to make it as simple as possible. We're happy with bullet points. Please don't feel like you have to write as an essay. If you'd like to use bullet points, the easiest way possible to explain the specifics of what you do, please do that. Describe who this funding is for. This again is for about the young people that you're working with. How do we know that they're the young people we need to support? Again, for most of you, this is just another kind of application form. That you have a risk assessment in place. This is one of the areas that we may be asking to see as per usual, just because there's risk because of the DFE and the council's involvement. We have to do the checks that everything has been checked through the risk assessment. So please just check that those things are in place. How many young people you are going to support? What are the age groups? Just so everyone's aware, when it comes to monitoring and evaluation, we are probably going to be moving towards asking you more about how many were in primary school and how many in secondary school, just to simplify this. But the application, because of the different things that are going on over the Christmas, we're still asking in the application form you to give us a prediction of these age groups. What your thoughts on the predicted free school meals are going to be. And what is your thoughts on what your predictive young people with SEND is going to be? Obviously, quite basic questions. As you will see, before we asked for a kind of description on all these outcomes to know exactly what you're doing. Because of the shortness of the program over Christmas, we are just asking you to confirm that these are yeses. And if there's a no, then you just need to explain why that's a no. Be aware what we're using to make sure that we're okay with that is this question: what do you need the funding for? So within that question, what we should be seeing is something about the food that you're giving, you're providing, something about the activity you're doing, something about the enriching activities, and how do we know it's safe and encouraging not being isolated. So yeah, the food is again simple question. As always, we're trying to simplify this form to speed up how easy it is to apply for. And then you've got your budgets. And as per usual, they should be quite straightforward. And then final. So I'm going to stop for a second sharing. Let's see if anyone's got it. It's fine if there isn't any questions. Let me just quickly check on the... So someone's asked the question of, do we have, so if people could use the Q&A for the questions rather than the chat, that would be wonderful, because otherwise I've got to keep flicking between the two. Someone's asked about, do we have the list of food providers? We can speak to our food, well, Christina,
I already spoke with our food provider. Even though we are not gonna be in the middle, he is happy for us to share his details, and you can contact him directly. So anyone that wants to have that contact, please email me. My email is in all the application and guidelines. But
to make it really clear, obviously, if you do decide to use Pantry, which we're fine if that be what you want to use, and obviously we've already negotiated kind of costs, and so hopefully that will bring the costs down for everyone in Harrow. But we need to be really clear, we aren't managing that piece of work. So you would need to make sure all the communications and all the agreements are in place with you and Pantry, because we may, depending on when you provide, we may not actually be here to support that piece of work, depending on what point you're delivering over Christmas. I'm just reading one of the questions. So Rachel, you're asking about per young person. No, we decided not to put a restriction on per young person. We are asking for this amount, or for like an amount per young person. The reason we're not doing that is because, one, we don't know who wants to deliver over Christmas. It's a very strange time. Just to confirm to everyone, we have pushed back and tried to encourage the October half term. That was a definite no from DFE. So we are obviously wanting people to do something over Christmas, otherwise we have to give the funding back, but we really don't know who wants to deliver what over Christmas. So rather than creating a restrictor where you can only apply for a certain amount of money, then what you need to do is design what you need to do. And obviously, if loads of people apply, then we have to do value for money. But just be really clear on why you are applying for what you are applying, and make sure your costs are really clear why you're asking for it. So the dates of the program is the Christmas holiday. So the Christmas holiday starts on the 18th of December. Is that right, Christine? Yeah. So that's Saturday, the 18th of December, and finishes on whenever the first day of the new year term time starts again. So your program would have to be delivered between that period of time, which again, we know is not a very great period of time to deliver, which is why we think most of the services that we're speaking to are going to be delivering between Saturday the 18th and the 23rd of December. Some have said they are going to probably do a bit of delivery between the Christmas and the New Year break, or just after New Year, but that's completely up to yourselves. So Hayley, you've asked a question about October, nothing to do with us. The Department for Education have stated that no, we cannot fund anything for the October half term, as much as we've had a real push to try and get that changed, as many boroughs have. It just was told we just weren't allowed to do it. It has to be over the Christmas break, unfortunately. Christina, do you want to?
For this year, if DFE has taken on board all the complaints from all the councils, and they have said that if this continues on HAF, it's going to be a HAF 2022, they may then think on giving more flexibility with October half term. But for this year, no, it has to be Christmas, and yeah, it's DFE decision.
So Phil, you've just asked a great question about, would panto trips be allowed under the cultural enrichment? Yes, they definitely would. That's especially why we've made sure those one-off trips, because for some groups, just a panto trip or a trip to the theatre, something that's completely different than those young people would normally get, would be just such a good experience. Please remember, you would have to still make sure they have had a meal, and they, make sure that they're walking a certain amount of distance towards that trip, so that you can cover all the areas that we would need to see covered. But a trip to something like the panto would be a great experience, and we'd love to be seeing things like that happen for children and young people across the borough. Oh, there's one more just come in. So just to clarify, this is for the holiday specific programs, Cabdul. So this isn't our normal grants program. Obviously, we do have a grants program open at the moment as well, under our normal Young Harrow Foundation grants. You've asked specifically about the English and science support. You could apply under those grants for that. By all means, please. If you haven't seen that, which you should have had emails about, then email me and I will forward them to you. This program is specifically about the HAF, which is holiday activities and food program. So this is making sure that that you're doing some kind of physical activity, you're providing meal, and you've got some kind of enriching activities. Now, if within that you decide to support English and science, then I'm not against that, but it is about doing something specifically over the holiday period only, and has to include the areas that we've stated it would need to include.
Okay, we have two more questions that they're quite good. One of them is says if it can be online. We are, and DFE is quite strict that they want face-to-face. It's been online before, but they believe at this point that they want to see face-to-face programs or provisions. And then you have another one from Rachel.
So Rachel, yes, you can mix and match the things, especially obviously on the grants for up to £5,000. If you want to do some doing trips and then a couple of days, like for you on an estate doing some activities, we'd love to see that. That's why we tried to make that a really flexible offer, completely fine for you to mix and match options around. So Christine has already answered the food one.
So to be clear, every single provision that you do, it has to include food. Possible, DFE recommend hot meal. We know that not always is possible, but we expect that you at least try. So yes, even if it's a trip to the theater, cinema, whatever you want to do, make sure that a meal is included and no online provisions are allowed.
So as to what they expect of the youth sector in regards to COVID, Phil, I unfortunately just don't have my crystal ball because I don't think there's any way anyone can predict. We are trying to be as flexible as possible. And please be aware that obviously if COVID high restrictions come in, then their pressure on just doing face-to-face will obviously change. And we would communicate with everyone to try and go, how can we use this? We won't be trying to take the money back, but it might be that you pause and do the next holiday period or something. We don't quite know. But what we have to do is predict there will be restrictions of some sort. We're hoping they won't be a full lockdown, but we're assuming there will be some restrictions because at the moment it's not looking like they're taking away all restrictions from society. So we're assuming there will be something. And so if you can kind of do the same and work on a way of whether it's just like Phil, I know you've been doing with Harrow Carers before, the bubbling schemes and other things just means that you're doing everything you can to create a safe environment for those children.
Yeah, as I say, in DFE, in the meetings, is something that obviously come up about COVID. They don't expect to go to a full lockdown, and maybe we are just trying to be all really positive. But they do recommend maybe working bubbles on a small group. So in case that the restrictions get higher, that's a possibility, then we still can be delivering face-to-face with a control and a small group. So.
Great, just checking, I'm just going through the thing, seeing if there's any others we've not been able to answer. I think that's all of them. Okay, so we are going to move on to the Christmas Winter Wonderlands in case you are wanting to also take children and young people there. So just to clarify, one of the things we have funded is to create a Winter Wonderland this year. This is specifically for age 5 to 12s, not 5 to 16. So please be aware of that. It isn't probably going to be publicly advertised, which is why when you see the forms and I show you them, it doesn't talk about the address, because it is going to be a partnership with schools or a local member or partner of ours that can then apply for a certain amount of places and bring children and young people to it. So let's show you a little bit to give you a bit of whet your appetite a little bit and tell you how you can apply if you would like to come to it. Doesn't actually advertise much there, but for everyone's aware, the kind of if you do bring a group of children and young people, then obviously you would need to apply so that we know how many young people, how many leaders that is, all the things that we would normally check that are in place are in place. The activities that you will be receiving when you get there will include a fairground and just to clarify, there are 6 stations. And so to help us make sure it's as COVID as safe as possible, what will happen is once you have booked in, you will be told the time that you will arrive with your young people. You will then go in and you will start on station 1 and then go through the stations. And when finished, you will then be encouraged to then take your young people away. You cannot meet your young people at the venue. Just to reduce any massive kind of gathering of people, we'll be asking everyone to arrange somewhere else to meet your young people. It It isn't very far away from Headstone Manor train station. Obviously, there are bus stops near that as well, so you could use those. But what we will encouraging is you bring your young people, not encourage all the parents to turn up on the venue with those young people. But you would turn up, you would then have an opportunity to take your young people on a fairground experience, including my brain's gone dead, teacups, what are the things at the fairground?
Slides, bouncing castle, we have the bumping cars, we have like the lovely wheel. So it's gonna be a lot of activities, a lot of fun rides. They're gonna be decorating like gingerbread persons and a lot of more active like snowball fights. So it's gonna be a lot of different activities, and it's gonna be leader by one member of the staff. So your staff just has to follow that leader. They will tell you how long you can spend in every single of the activities, and they will have a nice whole and festive meal included.
So the days where those programs are running is between the 18th of December to the 24th of December. So please be aware, they're the days that you would be asking to book a group in on. You would say which age group. So actually, let's run through this form together. So if you're an organization that would like to bring a group of young people to this, the reason why there's also an application is we know for some groups, they would struggle with some transportation costs or their staffing of bringing their children and young people here. So if you need it, what you can do is actually apply to cover those two things, so that we are giving you all the support possible to also bring young people, if you want to this event. You would need to, obviously, as always, do your organization name, contact, and that information as per usual, who you are, do you have these policies in place, and the DVS. How many young people would you like to bring? For clarification, if you get given a place with a certain amount of group of young people, before the event, you will have to give specific names and details of those people. So you can't just book for 40 and then try and fill them close to the time. Please be really accurate with the amount of numbers you want to bring, just because we have to keep it, for COVID reasons, really clear on how many people will be on site, how that will look, and the kind of process and procedures to make everything go through. We need to know who's on site and things like that. So please be aware when you're saying your numbers, make sure that they are really accurate kind of numbers that you'd wanted to bring. How many staff and what is your ratio? If we see a ratio that we would be worried about, for instance, if someone said we do 1 to 20, we would go back to them and say, we're worried by that ratio, kind of what, for safety reasons, why do you do 1 to 20? Or the other way around, if someone did 1 to 1, unless there's very specific reasons, like you might be supporting a sender program or something like that we would then understand why that's there. We just want to know why those ratios are the right ratios for you as an organization. You tell us which time slot is your preference. By all means, you can tick a couple just to make sure you get the best chance of getting a space. If you apply and that time slot isn't possible, then what we will do is try, and if there are time slots still available, we will come back to you and find out if you would rather one of the others. And sorry, just to clarify, it's up to the 23rd. The reason I said the 24th is because I know they're still packing down on the 24th. So it is up to the 23rd. So it's Saturday the 18th to Thursday the 23rd is that you would be applying for. And as I've already said, you can apply for some contributions towards your staffing. We aren't doing on cost for this. We are just covering if you are having staff. So you can't charge us for volunteer time if that's what you're asking for. This is the specific actual cost to you as an organization that you feel that you would need covered to be able to, as an organization, bring young people. So staff time and travel time for the children and for yourself. We are expecting this is mostly public transport, so please be really kind of aware of that. If we see, for instance, a private coach coming half a mile, then that's probably not going to be possible. And then the final kind of things. Now, this is an extra. We've tried to make this to be really just an extra positive opportunity for children and young people. The spaces is 3,600 spaces available over the 6 days, that's why there's morning, and then they run to after lunch, and then the afternoon ones start just before lunch and then run all the way through to early evening. But please, if you think your children and young people would like that, please book into that. You can do both. You don't have to do one or the other. You can obviously have a grant and apply to bring young people to the Christmas Winter Wonderland. And yeah, we'll do everything we can to support all of those things to make possible.
Yeah, and that's what we like to see. A lot of organizations that apply if possible for both of them. So this will be a treat, but it's going to be only around 4 or 5 hours. So we do expect all the organizations to also try to do something more special with the participants.
Just on the chat, someone's just asked about from RCCT about, can we do singing and dancing? Yeah, of course, singing and dancing would definitely be possible. And that's, I'm guessing, still under the grants program. I hadn't seen that when we were doing the grants. Yes, you could apply for that, but obviously you would have to be providing a meal and all the other things. But yeah, singing and dancing would definitely be enriching and physical activity. I'm just reading the questions. I'm not frozen. So Rachel's asked about the possibility of kids coming twice if they came with their school and then they also were brought by a local organization. We have processed that thought already, and we've been thinking through it. We've come to the conclusion, if it happens, we think it's not going to be on a high level. So if some young people somehow do get to go twice, then we are not going to, you know, actually, no, I'm totally wrong on that. That is why you do have to apply with the actual names of the children and young people. So if a school has already booked that young person in, then unfortunately the system would send you a message. I'm afraid that young person has already attended and wouldn't be able to come again. Christine, is that correct?
Yeah. So let me clarify that. No, nobody can attend twice. And that's why it's important. When you apply, obviously it's quite hard now to predict how many kids you're going to have, but you can say, I expect 30 kids. Once that they close to the day, they will ask you for the full name, the postcode, and also the date of birth. That's really important because that's the way that we're going to control, and all going to go through a centralized system. And if we have the name, address, and date of birth of that person already on our school, maybe one school has booked already for these kids will not allow to come in, and we give you the space for another participant if you want. So no, they cannot come twice, and we will request that free part of information that will make sure that no kid can attend twice.
Emma, yes, it is accessible for children and young people with SEND, but by all means, please speak to Christina if you have any concerns about the activities that are going on and how we're doing our best to make sure that it is SEND appropriate. So please email Christina if you'd like to. Now, based on that, obviously, Chris, you've just asked the question about, can I explain again the kind of activities that will be going on at Winter Wonderland? So sorry if we didn't make that clear. The things that you'll be, if you turned up with a group, let's say of 20 or 30 young people, you've been able to book them in, you'll be given your time slot, you'll turn up, you'll register them, you'll walk in. You will then get given a member of staff that will then take you around the 6 stations and give you the amount of time that you'll be at that like stage 4. So for instance, if the first stage is the fairground opportunities, you'll be on the bumper cars, the Ferris wheel, the teacups, and something else for a certain amount of time. You would then be, by the person that's taking your groups around, will then be asked to move on to the second stage once your time period in that section is over. And that will include things, I think the inflatable area, so that might be things like massive slides and bouncy castles and kind of opportunities like that. Again, your time period will be then got you to move to the next stage. The next stage, one of the stages, is a snowball arena. So where there's a fun experience to have a kind of very large kind of soft ball, but it's classed as a snowball fight with your friends and other young people, but in, again, groups of young people, not everyone on site. Then you'll be moving on to the next one, and from my memory, there's definitely arts and
Let me
crafts.
help you, Dan. So then we will have like circus. We're gonna be trying to do and learning some circus skills. We're gonna go to our art crafts where they can create letters to Santa if they want to. They're gonna be decorating gingerbread man or person, sorry. They're gonna be going with the elves workshops and creating and decorate some plates or mugs that they can use as a present for Christmas for the parents. Then they will go to the lunch. The lunch is going to be like a festive, more Christmassy meal. And they will also have, as Dan say, all the fun per rise that they will have allocated times. So when your group goes, the group maximum is going to be 30. You can apply for 50, but it will be separated in groups. Yeah, and they will also visit if they want to. We will have like a grotto where they can meet Father Christmas.
So just for a pronunciation check, one of the ones you said was circus. So there is a circus skills period, because I wouldn't have quite got it from what you just said. But yeah, hopefully that gives you, Chris, a little bit of an oversight. Hopefully it'll be a really great experience, which is why we have to limit it to only being able to go once, and why we want to try and support 3,600 young people in the borough to get that great experience. Rachel, you've asked about the dates. The dates are, just to clarify, let's just show them again. 1 second. So the dates for everything is the 3rd of November. Now, the earlier you apply, especially for things like the Christmas Winter Wonderland, we will start processing that as early as possible. But the latest point you can apply for any of this is the 3rd of November. So get your applications and your kind of requests for Winter Wonderland as soon as possible, because we want to get we want to support as many of our members and partners to be able to have this opportunity as possible. Phil, you asked about Winter Wonderland and a one-off. Yes, you can do both. So you don't even have to say this is just for our under 12s and these are for our over 12s. You can do both. So you can apply for Winter Wonderland and take, obviously they'd have to be under 12s, but take them there. But those same young people can also be a beneficiary of your grants program. You don't have to restrict them. But if you would rather do that and then offer the 12 to 14s the other things, that's completely up to you. But you can have both. So please don't feel like you have to figure out who's going to one thing and who's going to other things.
One thing with that, I know that is not maybe, we will love to be able to do until 16 for safety reasons and space reasons. We have to limit it to 12, but again, that's a good idea. And maybe the older kids, participants, something that we can promote is that if they want to apply for one-off trip and take them to the Winter Wonderland in the city, that please do apply by all means.
So Rachel, sorry, you asked about the names rather than the specific dates. So whoever books the child and young person in first will get their booking with that child. So for instance, let's say the school has already booked them in. When you try and apply with that young person, it will come back and say, I'm afraid these 2 or 3 young people have already been, they wouldn't be able to go again. So obviously then you would then be asked to, yes, replace those 3 young people with 3 other young people. That's not a problem at all. But it could be the other way around. It might be you've applied, that you've already booked them in, and then a school program applies later. They would get blocked, unfortunately, that way. So the first person to book someone in, they would get preference in them going with that group, if that makes sense. So the earlier the better.
Or we can be asked anyone that which one he preferred, the kid participant preferred to attend with, and then will be only one opportunity for that participant to attend, whatever he preferred to go with the school or with your group.
Yeah. And so based on that, yes, young people's names can change. What we're not encouraging is the people you turn up are not the people that are named on the system. That's what, it wouldn't be good. So yeah. Changes can be made at that point, but once they're booked in, they're the young people, unless there's a really good reason. Obviously, if someone gets COVID and they have to isolate, and you replace the person with someone, obviously we're not, that should be absolutely fine. But we really need to encourage the people that are booked in are the ones that are being bought.
But it has to be with time enough for us to be able to put it in register in a system and make sure that that new participant has not been attended or has booked to attend any other day. So just please give us as much time as possible if you need to make any change with the names.
Okay, well, I think I'm just checking, is there any other questions? I'm just going through those ones. Let's also make sure there's nothing. Do the children need to be Harrow school only? So this is for Harrow residents or educated children. So the answer to that, I think, is yes. So either they live in Harrow or they're in a school in Harrow, they can apply to come on this. But this is not for children from other boroughs, I'm afraid, just because there should be programs like this happening in other boroughs for those children. I think that is all my questions. So I hope that is a really rocket speed tour of what you can apply for. We hope that that might be really interesting for some of you, and that you can really see yourselves being able to do some great activities and give some children, young people an amazing kind of pre or just after Christmas experience. Christina's email is all over all the forms that you'll receive. So if you've got any questions, please email Christina so she can help either think stuff through with you or kind of or check on anything that you want checked. The only other thing I would say is, as always, try and get your applications and other things in as soon as possible, because if you get it in on the 3rd, there's not much we can do to actually help make slight changes with you if we think there's more chance you'll get it if slight changes are possible. If you get it in slightly earlier, then Christina can review it and come back to you with, you know, just so you're aware, if you could just change this, then there's much more chance we'll be able to fund it. So don't feel like the 3rd is the day you apply. That's just the last day we can accept any applications, because we have a panel the week after and everything has to be reviewed and processed prior to that panel. So hopefully that's a great overview. Thank you, Phil, for saying that. We look forward to seeing and hearing from everyone very, very soon. And from me and from Christina, we will see everyone soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.